Good afternoon, actually, good morning still. We are Senate Agriculture. We took a little break. We're gonna start, the discussion, here now. We've got Jackie Folsom from the Vermont Farm Bureau. We had her here this morning at a different capacity, but welcome again, Jackie.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the time. I know I'm all that's between you and lunch, so we'll keep moving this along as we can.
Well, the future guests before that were Vermont Food Bank, so I
Oh.
mean, so we were building up an
You're
appetite.
hungry already, huh?
Yeah.
I wish I could help you with that. Thank you for the opportunity to introduce Vermont Farm Bureau. I am what I call a recycled president. I was president back in the early 2000s for 8 years and went away for a little bit. I came back and did some lobbying for them. And then I was elected a year ago in November, and my term will be up this November at our annual meeting. I'm speaking on behalf of our almost 1,500 members across the state, and these include all types, sizes, and kinds of farms. We are one of the few organizations that try to have the biggest tent that we can as far as agriculture, which makes it very interesting when we have people on both sides of an issue, like the neonic issue, because we have beekeepers that are members and we have dairy farmers and crop growers that are members. So we try to listen to everybody and try to bring in our members or try to connect them with you all when we have an issue that they want to discuss. And we also include forestry, so that's not part of your purview. I believe that's in natural resources, but up in the House it's a little different. But we have forestry members also, and we lobby on their behalf. We are one of 51 farm bureaus that are under the auspices of the American Farm Bureau Federation. So Puerto Rico, which has had a lot of its own issues, is one of the other farm bureaus. And happy to say, when I was there the first time, I was the only woman president. So it got a little, 50 guys and me in a room. It was kind of interesting.
They were outnumbered.
They were. You know it, sir. Always wore my red jacket when I went into those meetings. But now there are seven.
Yeah.
7 women across the country, so we're very happy. And the last new presidents, we had 4 new presidents coming in, and they are all what we call young farmers, young farmer and ranchers. So they're young gentlemen under the age of 35. So we're changing the culture quite a bit at the American Farm Bureau level. And I'll be heading out there next Thursday to San Antonio, Texas. We have our national convention. So there'll be about 3,000 people from all over the country, and we'll be doing policy, doing updates, having meetings, having general sessions. So it'll be kind of exciting. We have 3 lobbyists in the building this year. One of them is Gwen Zakoff. She works for us. Amber is our chief lobbyist, and then I come in, I guess when they need an old person with a lot of experience to come in and talk to you all. So you will see us all around, and I think, Senator, you know how to get a hold of me or Amber if you need anything. So please make use of those connections. We have, as our goals through Vermont Farm Bureau, we want to advocate for our members. We want to educate people who don't understand what we're talking about. And we also follow our policy. So every year in November, we go through our policy book, and we've whittled it down. I think we were up to 75 pages of all sorts of things that you wouldn't imagine would affect agriculture, but as I said earlier, everything in this building does affect agriculture. We've gotten that winnowed down to about 40 pages, and some of the things that we are very interested in, I was glad I was in here earlier with Mike, we've worked with him many, many years, are the PFA issue. Because what's happening, as you can ascertain, is that the farmers are at the bottom of that pile. Where do you get rid of the sludge? Spread it on fields. Oh, you're going to destroy a farm. Collateral damage, kind of like the fairs. So we're very interested in following that issue, and we want to make sure that our farmers are not unfairly accused or not given the tools to help the situation as it goes forward. So that's something that we will be looking at. We hosted a meeting, and Gwen facilitated. It was called Bridging the Divide in October. We thought we were going to have good weather in October, but it was Vermont, so it was 35 degrees, and we were in a barn up in East Montpelier. No. We were very cozy, but we had 16 different organizations who normally albeit we're all in agriculture, don't necessarily talk to each other. So we were very happy to be the group that made the invitation to have everybody in, and it was astonishing as we sat down. Of course, it ended up kind of in, so here was a silo of these kind of agriculturists, and here's a silo here. But at the end, those silos got broken down, and we discovered that we had more commonalities than we did differences. And so it led to a lot of good coalition building. It led to a lot more discussion. It even led to trust building, which I think is important anywhere, but particularly in the ag world, where you get large farms versus smalls, or beekeepers versus crop growers, and that sort of thing. So that is what we really try to do, because we're such a big tent for agriculture. We have the organic and the conventional within our membership. We really try to make sure that all voices are heard. This past year, we worked as a coalition with NOFA and with the Intervale on a project. I'm not sure, NOFA's been in here, I think, talking about the emergency funding for farmers. So we worked with them to fine tune that. We worked to agree to what the message would be, and I just had a quick conversation with Maddie Kempner out in the hallway. It looks like things are moving along with that, and we will be one of the supporting organizations as far as we can be in what the plan is to make sure that we have funding for farmers going forward, because as you have heard, sometimes we're at the bottom of the pile, and people don't think, we need funding for anything, because they think that we have it all the time, or that we're making a lot of money from our commodities, which is not true. We also worked with the Vermont Dairy Producers Association on what collaborative issues we can work on with them. So we're trying, just as in this building, to build partnerships so that we can make sure that our voices are heard in a more strong situation than it's been in the past. I also worked with Ellen Kaler. The Working Lands Coalition is coming back. I don't know, I missed the last couple of meetings, but I know we were invited as Farm Bureau to come in and find out what was going on and to see how we can help promote that group, and we will be continuing to have that discussion. Our policy interests this year, I'll just talk real quick before I invite the rest of the folks to speak. Number one, last year we were all kind of blindsided when ag laborers lost their exclusion to collectively to unionize. And luckily, we were able to have that changed into a study, and Senator Collmore was on that committee this year, and they've had a report come through. Apparently, that report talks less about unionization and more about wages and housing. And we had questions. I did testify. We brought in folks from New York Farm Bureau who have passed an overtime and minimum wage bill. We talked about that. We have concerns that there was conversation within the study committee that farmers shouldn't be allowed to include housing as part of your wage. I want to tell you that most of our farmers do pay more than minimum wage, whatever kind of employees they have, because they can't find help. And so we will be watching this, if any bill comes through, we will be watching the report that comes through in the discussion, because we're very concerned about what may happen to our farms and how that will work. We are not against unions. We are not against paying wages to our employees. We are not against helping them become better people to help on our farms. What we were challenged with was this seemed to be focused more on large dairy farms than anything else. And I can tell you that there are other types of farms that have employees with housing. I will also tell you that, and this just made the paper, Champlain Valley Housing Trust just released some more funding for farm labor housing. And that was a program that Senator Starr and Vermont Farm Bureau worked with many years ago. And they put $2 million, I think it was $2 million into the VHCB. And that the first $1 million was actually oversubscribed, where farmers really wanted to fix up their housing, fix up the problems within the housing, and however else they could help their employees. There's just been another pot of money that's been released. And so we'll be following that very closely. But farmers are actively making sure that their employees, as well as their animals, are taken very well care of, because that's how they make their living. We have a couple people here today that are going to talk about current use. It's always something that we watch, because we don't really want it changed, because once you open that up, anything can happen. And it's Farm Bureau policy that if current use is opened up and there are major changes made, we would ask for an easy out. In other words, there wouldn't be a penalty or a fine if people want to get out of the program if there's been a major change. The equine folks are looking at some challenges that they have in the current use program, including there are, I think, 15 definitions of agriculture scattered throughout your statutes. Which always makes it interesting when you try to pass legislation and wonder which one you're going to use. And the equine folks have been left out of some of these definitions, including one that would help them with current use, which has to do with the exemption of buildings. So they're going to be looking at making and asking for changes to the statute on that, and they'll talk about that. Mike O'Grady talked about the challenges with the water quality. This is something we're absolutely going to be watching. Vermont Farm Bureau policy is that we support what is in the current statute, which is ANR deals with direct discharges and the Agency of Agriculture deals with indirect discharges. We've always found it very easy to work with Secretary Julie Moore. She has a real understanding of agriculture. She knows what is required. She knows the challenges that we face. And so I'm looking forward to the conversation, and it ends up in a positive way for our farmers. We understand that we're under the gun with the EPA and the lawsuit, and we want to be able to come in and tell our side of the story, and I know that you folks will be willing to listen to us. When Senator Starr was here, there was an attempt to update the right to farm law, and I think it ended up on the wall when you folks adjourned last year. I think we're going to be working with the Vermont Dairy Producers Association, and maybe I think I've heard Senator Douglas might be introducing an update to that. And we certainly support right to farm. We're a little curious as to whether the definition will change. There was some talk last year about opening it up to homesteaders or to other people, and we're not adverse to that, but I think we need to be careful with definitions. That's one of the things we've discovered in this building, is that sometimes, in all good intentions, the definitions aren't quite what you need to make sure you're doing what you want to do. We are looking with interest at, the governor just appointed the new land use board that was the old natural resources board. One of those gentlemen, Alex Weinhagen, we actually worked with quite extensively when we were promoting the agritourism zoning bill a couple of years ago, and he's a very, very smart guy, and he understands agriculture. So I'm excited about that. But I'm also a little leery about the fact that they're looking at what is a natural resource. Well, it might be different for somebody that isn't farming or isn't in forestry. So another definition that we need to make sure is not harmful to ag or forestry. And as I said before and earlier, all things in this building touch agriculture. We pay taxes. We have vast trails. One of the things I'm really looking forward to this year with the change in the committee makeup is the ability to go into the Senate Natural Resources Committee, because in the past we have been not denied access for things that affected us, such as and that's one of the things that might come up, although I doubt it, the water withdrawal bill that you all passed a couple years ago. That gave mandatory reporting to all industries except agriculture, and that had to go through the Agency of Natural Resources. The farms that use withdraw water for irrigation, that was another unintended consequence, and we got pulled into the conversation, but we were never allowed into the Senate Natural Resources Committee to discuss our case until 5 minutes at the very end. So that was a little frustrating for us, and we're hoping with help from this committee and with the new people on that committee that will not happen. So we will be watching very carefully what goes on in all committees. Gwen is assigned to the Natural Resources Committee and the
Transportation. And, just a certain capital bill for funding in there, and then appropriations and kind of anything else, because Amber and Jackie and the ag committees are going on full time in the House for sure, and you guys meet in the morning, so we have to kind of divide the calendar. So you won't see me a lot in here, but I'll be in natural resources and finance and approach.
So she is our eyes and ears, and that's how we divide that up. So I do obviously the ag committees, probably also be watching natural resources. I also watch appropriations primarily because the fairs sometimes get involved in that conversation. So we try to watch everything that goes on in this building. And Linda knows how to get in touch with me. Senator Collmore and Senator Ingalls know how to get in touch with me. Cindy Cahart knows how to get in touch with me. So if there's anything that you have questions regarding Farm Bureau or fairs or anything that you just might like to have an offline conversation with, we're always available, and we really appreciate the time. So I have with me today several guests that are Farm Bureau members. Mary White is my first vice president, and she's a dairy farmer down in, remind me, Topsom? No, Corinth. And she's just built a new dairy barn. Art Whitman is my second vice president, and he is down in Bennington, and he's a custom operator down there with, used to own a feed company down there. Eliza Shraver is one of my field staff. We have two. She's in the southern area, so she takes care of Addison, Bennington, Windsor, Wyndham, a couple others as needed. And she's also a goat farmer over in New York State. Yay! And then I have Jeanette Cole, who is the president of the Vermont Horse Council, and she will be introducing Heidi Krantz, and they are the two that will be speaking about challenges to equine in the current use. So I'd like to start off with Mary.
Well, welcome to all of you, and thank you for joining Senate Agriculture today.
Hi there, great to meet you all and see a few familiar faces. My name is Mary White. My husband and I are the fifth generation on our family farm here in Orange County, Vermont. We are a small family farm. We milk 110 Holstein cows, and all our milk goes to Cabot Agrimark. I have been on the Farm Bureau board for the last 5 years and got really involved when I saw kind of the lack of connection between things that were going on our farm and policies that were being passed. As we all know, farming has changed a lot in the last 100 years, especially over the last few decades. Less than 2% of the entire population now are farmers, and we're having to grow more food with less resources for a growing population. So it makes a large task and one that we are always striving to do better on. So I think a lot of practices and things have maybe gone unnoticed or unrecognized, and the state of Vermont has been doing a fantastic job in working with farmers to recognize those efforts and helping us, showing us where we can do more, how we can do better, and figuring out what incentives are best used for resources as we continue to see historic flooding in the state and a lot of farmland. In those floodplains, we really need to adapt our farming practices and figure out what the best land management tools are to sustain agriculture in the state of Vermont. And it's something that's going to be ongoing and involve a lot of different committees, but yourselves is included. So that's a really important topic for us in growing feed for our cows, and a lot of our other members grow vegetables and lots of other crops on river bottom ground. And how do we utilize that to help the state as well to retain water? You know, agriculture is one of the unique industries that we manage the land in a way we can actually incorporate practices to help increase soil capacity, you know, when we have those floods by no-till, cover crops, things like that. And we can also sequester carbon directly. So these are all resources, I think, that paint a much broader picture when it comes to any climate change, energy efficiencies, and just a whole food system approach involving all types of farmers, all sizes, like Jackie says. I think that's our vision and really what stands behind us being involved in the board and a lot of farmers throughout the state of Vermont. So we appreciate your time, and I'm sure you'll see from us quite a bit this year. We look forward to it.
We do as well. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Art?
Yes, good morning, everybody. I've been involved in agriculture my whole life. I took over my father's business running a feed mill and sold that about 10 years ago, but kept a portion of that. So I'm still involved in agriculture. We spread fertilizer and limestone and things like that on farmers' fields. So it's kind of a seasonal thing. So I'm able to at least take the winter time off. Farm Bureau has been a big part of our whole family. In fact, back in the 70s, my parents were national delegates to the National Farm Bureau convention. The heyday of Farm Bureau was about back in the 60s and 70s when we could offer a health insurance program with membership, and that ability was taken away. And now, as fewer and fewer farms throughout the state, and especially in Bennington County, we've only got one farm, possibly two farms left, and they're both owned by people from New York State, since we're so close to the border here. It becomes imperative that we start looking at other.
Oh, shoot. Oh, I lost that.
It looks shaky.
that
Yeah, it wasn't working too well.
associate with.
Oh,
So,
what?
am I having trouble coming through?
You're good. Keep going. We just lost your picture, but we can hear you.
Okay, very good. So we, as president of the Bennington County Farm Bureau, we're putting a push on to get in touch with hay dealers. There's quite a few of them here that use dairy farms that have gone out of business, especially a fairly decent market down in Connecticut and south of here. Farmers market members, organic growers, whether they're organic or conventional, but there is a wide range of people that are associated with agriculture, making their living from agriculture. A lot of these farms are being sold, older farms are being sold to people moving up, and they think that they want to try this business of self-sustaining and so that sort of stuff. And it's a fairly fast learning curve for some of them, but there is a whole group of people that we're excited about getting into joining Farm Bureau and making them realize the importance of it.
Did we lose him?
No.
No,
Thank you, Art.
please don't.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Art. Art, who'd you sell your feed business to?
To Josh Pauline up in Newport.
Yeah, know him very well. Good friend of mine.
Yep.
Yep. Oh, good. Well, thank you very much.
Eliza?
Good morning, everyone. As Jackie mentioned before, I'm Eliza Shraver. I am the Southern Field Rep for Vermont Farm Bureau. I cover everything south of Addison and Orange. I am pretty much that link between the county members and Amber and the State House, giving them as many resources as I can, helping them reach out to folks that they may need to talk to help solve issues or problems or concerns on their farm as well. We also assist them with hosting events throughout the counties. Last year, Rutland County put on a wonderful youth dairy cattle judging clinic and competition in junction with New York Farm Bureau. A great event. They had close to 60 to 70 kids from New York and Vermont there learning how to judge cattle. A great way for those kids to experience agriculture and learn a little bit more. They also hosted a legislative luncheon in Rutland County on a smaller dairy farm in Fairhaven, and invited different candidates out to visit the farm, have a little bit more some intimate conversations with members, and also to see a working dairy in Vermont. We strive for nice casual events where you can really have those wonderful one-on-one conversations with our members. I feel as though those are very productive conversations. You know, some people don't feel overly comfortable standing up in a crowd asking questions, but they will ask those questions one-on-one. So upcoming events that we're looking forward to is Addison will be hosting their typical legislative breakfast over the next couple months. And Rutland County is hoping to also host their judging clinic again, as well as another legislative luncheon once the weather warms up. And we are launching our county coffee days at the state office, which you will all be hearing more about in the near future.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes.
Jeanette?
Hello, everyone. I'm Jeanette Cole, and I have had a 45-year career in the food side of the dairy business, working for Kraft. And then Ben & Jerry's brought me to Vermont, and I finished and retired my career at Cabot. I was in operations management, and now I find myself with not enough to do, so I've taken on the presidency of the Vermont Horse Council. And I am very excited to be able to speak with all of you and also to introduce Heidi, who is our Equine Business Committee chairperson, and she will be your face. You'll probably see quite a bit of her over the next session. So I'll just turn it over to Heidi.
Jeanette, before you leave, where are you from?
I grew up in Connecticut. I went to school at Michigan State. And I really wanted to go into large herd management, but I didn't come from a farm background. So I went into food science with a dairy major and have bounced up and down the Eastern Seaboard as far south as Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm now here in Vermont to stay.
Yeah, well, thank you. Hi, Heidi.
Hi. Thank you, Jeanette, and thank you all for inviting us and giving us the opportunity to chat with you for a few minutes and get to know you. As Jeanette mentioned, I am the chair of the Equine Industry Committee, which is a fairly recently formed committee that the council decided to put together in an effort to be able to work more fluidly with the Farm Bureau, because we often were a little bit back on our heels when Jackie would come to us with opportunities. And the issues that we've been facing have been before the legislature off and on for a couple of decades at least. Some of you may remember efforts from the Sogolovs, Bonnie and Hayes Sogolov, and others in Chittenden County, who were trying to work on some of these same issues. So they have continued to be issues, and our committee represents the members or the members of the equine industry who are, while not all of them are producing a product, as in being a breeder of horses, although some are, they are using the land in the same way and using their farm buildings in the same way that other agricultural producers are. They house horses there, and those horses provide 51% or more of their operating income. And those are the equine operations that we're focusing on. So I wanted to be sure that you understand that we're not advocating these changes to be across the board to backyard horse owners, but really focusing on the people who are trying to make their living and who are working hard to protect Vermont's open space and working lands. And so that includes businesses like folks that have boarding facilities, therapeutic facilities, that have breeders and also do things related to agritourism. So there are a lot of them out there. As the result of an economic impact study we did back in 2019, back then we had numbers of over 10,000 horses in this state. And I'm happy to share with you at some point more information that we have available on our website from that economic impact study. The main thing that I want you to be aware of now is how much we appreciate the work of the Farm Bureau, because they really are our doorway to being able to be aware of what's happening with the work that you're doing. We're very happy to work with you in any way to provide information. And as a start of that, you should all find in your inboxes a letter from Jeanette with the work that was done by the Vermont Law and Graduate School on our behalf to research the state statutes and find all those many definitions of agriculture that Jackie referred to earlier, as a way to open the door to that conversation, because there are some disparities that are confusing at best in the equine industry. For example, equine operations are regulated by the required agricultural practices, but do not get the same kinds of benefits that other operations would get in terms of the taxation of equine related buildings. So we're trying to find a way to get a more level playing field for people, because the impacts have been big enough that there are equine businesses that are leaving the state because they can't afford to continue to do business here. And I think that that's an unfortunate circumstance, because many of these are young, agriculturally oriented Vermonters who want to protect the land here and who want to continue to work and live here. So I'm very happy to connect with any of you as needed and to provide more information. And I look forward to working with you and hope you have a successful year.
Thank you, Heidi. And where are you from, Heidi?
I am from Craftsbury up in Orleans County.
Jeff, good. Yep. Well, welcome and thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, guys. One of the things that Eliza mentioned was we're inviting our counties to host county coffee days. We recently sold our building in Richmond and moved 97 State Street right next to the theater down here. So we're going to ask our counties to come into the office and send invitations to their legislators, both Senate and House, just to come down, meet some of our members, say hi, figure out where we are. We're actually in a good spot because when you all walk somewhere to a meeting, you walk right by our building. So sometimes we knock on the window and say hi, or sometimes we'll run out and grab you, but we're right in the thick of it. We're very happy to be down in that spot. Eliza and Kate are other field staff, and we haven't had field staff for many, many years. And as she said, they go out and they work with members. They help put on events. She's a Zoom queen, so if our members want to have a Zoom meeting, Addison's having a Zoom tomorrow night. And it allows me to go to these meetings without having to drive all that way. I live in Cabot, so, you know, when they say higher elevations and snow, that would be me. So what I do have is our latest newsletter. I don't know, Eliza, has this gone out yet to the members?
I have to email it over to the printer today, and then it's going to get mailed out probably within the next couple days.
So you're getting a preview because my members haven't even seen it yet. But I'll pass this out. Linda, there's one there for you too, for the files.
Thank you.
And also our brochure with the membership listing. The other thing I'd just like to say in closing is that one of the things we do with the 3 lobbyists that we have here in the building, every Friday during the session, we send out, we call it the UTGD, Under the Golden Dome, how appropriate. And it goes out to all of our members via email, or if they don't have email, because we do still have some that do not, it goes out snail mail. And it updates them on what we've been watching, what we've heard, what committees we've been in, and how they can help. And so we oftentimes will send out one for the first one will have who are the committees of jurisdiction that we will be most often influencing or talking with. So you folks will be listed in your contact information if you have it up. We'll also talk about what bills have been introduced, where they land, what committee of jurisdiction they're on. And a lot of times if we get questions from committee chairs or members that say, do you have someone that can speak to this issue? We will ask them to Zoom in and we will make that connection. It's a lot. I hate Zoom for the reason that you can't interact personally and you can't ask questions, because if you know me, you know that sometimes I'm watching committees at home on my laptop and I'm going, ask them this, say this, and it doesn't work. You can't hear me yelling yet. But when we can get our folks to Zoom in, it's a lot easier and they're able to. I know Mary is one in particular. She's got 2 little boys. She's in the barn in the morning, and at noontime, we can't find her because she's back outside in the barn.
No, geez,
And they've
yeah.
just, they're building a new barn, they put in a new manure pit. I mean, they're just going all out down there to make themselves as modern and as self-sufficient as they can be, and a very efficient farm. One of the other things I'll leave you with is that last year we did do a farm tour, and the Senate and the House Ag Committees were invited. We had a little van that shuttled folks around. We went to an organic farm over in Plainfield. We went to Fairmont Farms up in East Montpelier. And then we had a pizza lunch, and our members showed up, and we plan on doing that again this year. But if there's a particular farm or some kind of something that you would like to get more information on, and you'd like to be connected to a farm in either any of your counties, or something around here when you've got time that you have to be able to go and visit, we would love to be the person, the organization that helps connect you. As I
You
said,
just take us right back to that pizza farm.
that was fun, wasn't it? Yeah, hopefully it'll be a little warmer. We tried it, I think we did it in late February, and luckily the weather held, but it didn't when we held the Bridging the Divide. That was a little cold. But anytime you need a connection, we want to be the connection between whatever kind of agriculture you're looking for and the members that we have. And we will set you up with people who aren't even our members, because we think it's important that you learn about agriculture any way that you need to learn it. And always ask questions, because some of you have a learning curve, and we're glad to be able to answer, and we'll always try to be unbiased and helpful about that. But that's who Farm Bureau is. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to speaking with you all many times in the future.
Thank you, Jackie, very much, and we thank everybody up on the screen. Thank you for coming today, and we're approachable as well. Anytime you need anything, we're here. So thank you.
Thank you.